How long have I been sitting here, watching shadows play on the walls? Life tosses you around, and sometimes all there is left to cling to are the fragments of reality, the stability of the upholstered chair beneath me, the faint smell of the marine wind as it drifted through the window, the honking of traffic and the rushing of people below, the gentle murmur of the city, its constant pulse, a heartbeat you can never slow down. Unlike mine, my heartbeat will eventually fade to a climactic finish long before my body is ready. Mortality is a smirking companion, impervious to the ego's desperate plea. I grip my phone. The urge to reach out and spill my sordid fate to another was a frantic bird pounding against the splintered bars of its cage. But who would I call? There was no one to console me. I was alone in a world of my own making. With a broken sigh, I threw my phone across the living room. It bounced once, hit the wall, and landed on the polished grain of the hardwood floor. My anger was not even strong enough to break something, and I wanted to break something. I wanted to scream, to cry, to claw through the walls I had erected and release the entrails of myself. But something had shut down inside of me so long ago, and all I was able to muster was a fury, blanketing the emptiness that engulfed me. Chapter 1. What is it that suffocates you? I sat on the plush beige couch opposite my therapist. A chunk of dark hair, scattered with strands of gray, had fallen into his face, and I resisted the urge to brush it back and slip off his wedding ring. Many a fantasy had started that way. I knew it was a pathetic cliche. So many nights he had become fodder for my lonely imagination and wandering fingers, but I couldn't help myself. There was something so comforting with the cliche. It was safe, an impression that couldn't touch me. A blessed distraction from the dark reality which now lay burrowed beneath my skin. My life is suffocating me. A tangled inhale grappled within my throat, the hiss of anxiety twisting inside as I recalled my doctor's words last week. The words that had constricted my world, causing each day to press tighter around me, until all that was left was an outline, the ink of who I was, already fading. He shifted in his seat, quiet blue eyes resting on me. And what is it about your life right now that you find so suffocating, Julia? He did this a lot, used my name as a way of establishing some sort of intimacy between us. It had been almost 6 months since I'd first come to him, hoping to still the discontent lurking like shadows that kept me up at night. But I'd never really let him in. I'd never taken my guard down. Perhaps I didn't know how. This vestige of strength I portrayed was only a cloak keeping me veiled, and he was just another prop in my life, a habit, something to fill the empty space between work and home, someone to remind me I still existed. I hadn't even told him about my diagnosis yet. All of it, my job, my apartment, the words caught on my tongue like slivers of uncertainty as I sought relief in the view out the window. Autumn had crept in overnight, stealing away the last of summer's bright optimism, and the maple outside the office trembled with a hesitant blush of color against the bone white of the Seattle sky. The impermanence was a bleak reminder of the truth holding court in my gut. Julia, what else feels suffocating? My solitude. The unexpected prick of tears stung my eyes, and I pushed them back like shameful secrets. I had never cried in front of him, and I didn't want to start now. From the corner of my eye, I noticed him jot something on his notepad. You have never mentioned this before. You have always spoken about your independence and how your life was an extension of your ambition. You have said on numerous occasions that you were happy with your solitude. I bit my lip, staring out into the city. How many lies had I told him? How many of my words had been coded in confident fabrications, as if I could convince myself of these things simply by saying them out loud? He tilted his head toward me, trying to pull my attention away from the window. Julia? Vulnerability pressed against me, whispering threats of exposure, and I dug my nails into the palm of my hand, the welcoming sting like an anchor. What? My voice came out clipped as I swung my gaze back to him. Why do you think you're now addressing this? Because I must admit, I feel we have been dancing around this topic for quite some time. Oh, have we? I didn't know I was so transparent. He leaned forward, clasping his hands together and resting his elbows on his knees. Julia, Everyone craves companionship in their lives. It's not a sign of weakness. I know that. I brushed his words aside with a quick wave of my hand, my impatience coiling within, ready to strike. Do you ever think that perhaps you've used your career as a distraction to buffer yourself from getting close to the people around you? I shot him a scathing look, the talons of my anger extending. My career is not a distraction. I'm not saying it is, but you have been coming to me for some time now, and we still have yet to go very deep. Oh, have I been boring you? I tossed my words at him, bitterness coating my tongue. Because if I am, I can gladly stop our sessions. He leaned back in his chair with a sigh. Do you want to stop therapy, Julia? I feel like we're finally touching on some important topics here. My silence filled the room as I struggled to hold back a retort. The truth was too big. If I opened my mouth, it would swallow me whole. How about this? How about I ask you why it is you come to me every week? My eyes fell back to the window. The morning sun had finally managed to peek through the fine layers of clouds, bathing the room in a tepid glow and teasing my skin with warmth. I don't really know anymore. Well, when we first started, you were having trouble sleeping. His eyes rested on mine, full of his endless questions. But if I'm correct, you stated recently that this is no longer an issue. So what is it that compels you to continue our sessions? I shrugged, biting the edge of my lip. Someone to talk to, I guess. Well, beyond the day-to-day sharing you do here, what is it that you hope to achieve by coming to me every week? A puff of air escaped my lips. I was suddenly tired of words, tired of the clinical back and forth. What use was there in talking? It never changed anything. Since you're the professional, why don't you tell me? That isn't about my opinion, Julia. This is about you and what it is you want to get out of our sessions. I crossed my legs, my foot rapping, tapping on the floor. Well, you seem to have some opinions of your own just a second ago. I'm only trying to address this feeling of isolation that you speak of. He closed his notepad and set it on the table beside him. You talk about feeling suffocated. What exactly has caused this sudden shift for you? My future. He looked at me quizzically for a moment. What is it about your future that is causing these feelings for you? I glanced at the clock on the wall, a wave of relief washing over me as I grabbed my purse. Time's up. With a nod, he regarded me with a look that held all the unspoken words between us, all the half-truths I doled out like a reluctant child. I suppose it is. I stood and breezed past him, my heels clicking a staccato heartbeat against the polished tile. See you next week. Shutting the door behind me, I pulled my phone out of my purse and dialed my office as I walked toward the elevator. My assistant answered on the first ring, her chipper voice grating in my ear. Sylvia, I need you to cancel all my meetings for today. Sure thing. Will you be coming into the office this afternoon? No. A cool wind hit me as I hung up the phone and exited the 4-story brownstone of my therapist's office. I needed to stifle these feelings inside me, hissing and scratching like a cornered animal. I stopped at the first bar I saw. Darkened windows obscured the view inside, while a faded neon sign flickered above. Slipping inside, my eyes adjusted to the dim light as I walked over to the bar and sat on the cracked leather stool, which seemed to sigh beneath me. This was a fitting backdrop for my current mood. Only a few people populated the room, all of them curled around the comfort of their chosen vice like a lover, their eyes heavy with detachment. This was what I longed for, detachment from my life, which had now begun to feel so bleak and meaningless that it sucked the air out of me. Signaling to the bartender, I ordered a gin on the rocks. My fingers traced the worn grooves on the wood of the counter, imagining what my daughter would think of me now. She often came to me in these moments of self-reflection, like a timid ghost of my own disapproval. My drink slid into view, and I reached for it, resting the cold glass against my lips. I watched as the clear liquid swirled around the ice before tipping it back and allowing the warm, welcoming burn to slide down my throat. You don't look like you belong in a place like this. I swiveled my head in the direction of the tired pickup line and took in dark eyes and a scruffy 5 o'clock shadow. A small smile tugged at my lips as I regarded his moderately attractive features and put together attire. Crisp dress shirt, expensive shoes. He would do. Well, please enlighten me as to what place you think I should be right now. He cocked his head at me, his eyes playful. Somewhere with more light? Your beauty is wasted in here. Is that so? I downed the rest of my drink and retrieved a $10 bill from my purse, placing it on the counter. Does your place have better light? Ushering me into his apartment, he backed me against the bathroom door, his lips on mine, urgent and tasting of beer. I pulled back and turned my head from him as I reached for his pants, unbuckling the belt. No kissing, huh? His voice was gravelly in my ear. I slid my hand lower and cupped his erection through the fabric of his pleated pants, causing a disjointed groan to spill from his mouth. I didn't come here to be kissed. I pushed him down onto the bed, his eyes wide and full of a simplified lust as he watched me undress. All men were the same, so pliant and predictable. Straddling him, I pinned his arms to the sheets, reveling in the feeling of reducing him to nothing but his own primal need, stripping him of his identity and revealing the animal underneath. We were all nothing but animals in the end, viciously clawing at phantoms we had created from the depths of our own fear, seeking solace in the burrow of a warm body. These were the moments when I was fully in charge, reduced to sweat, skin, and the pleasure that for one brief moment stole away all the darkness inside. Dust danced within the beams of weak sunlight that streamed in from the window of the bedroom. Sitting up, I went to grab my pants and shirt from the floor. Hey now, where are you going? His hand fell to my arm, but I brushed it off. I gotta go. Can I see you again? I turned to him, the name he had given me in the taxi ride over suddenly eluding me. No, I don't think so. Slipping on my shoes, I grabbed my purse and headed out the door, not bothering with a goodbye. What was the point of empty words? I had nothing to give. My eyes scanned the flow of traffic hissing by as I waited for the Uber I'd called to take me back to my apartment, longing for a hot bath and the crispness of clean sheets. As I slid into the car and directed the driver to Capitol Hill, my mind drifted back to my therapist's response when I told him in sordid detail about all my one-night stands. Perhaps I was trying to get a rise out of him, to maybe see him shift uncomfortably in his expensive leather chair. So after you sleep with these men and leave, how does that make you feel? I feel powerful, like I'm in control. And how long does that feeling last for you? Not long enough. And this time was no different. When I entered my apartment, the rush had faded, and I was greeted by the kind of silence that made me agitated and restless. I was alone once more, with all the thoughts I did not want to sit with.